In the tumultuous theaters of both world wars, the whispers that rippled through German ranks carried an unsettling truth. The Canadian infantry was no ordinary opponent. Soldiers on the other side of the battlefield had learned to fear a force that, although from a relatively small nation, showcased an indomitable spirit and tactical prowess. Resilience radiated from their formations as they marched steadfastly with poise, even amidst the chaos of war. It was not merely a question of numbers, but rather the psychological advantage they wielded over their foes, which loomed large in the minds of German commanders. From the very outset, Canadian troops were imbued with a distinctive
of the NATO
ethos,
alliance.
trained rigorously and equipped with strategies that emphasized both discipline and precision. They transformed from mere soldiers into shock troops, a term that echoed ominously in German communications. The meticulous nature of their approach to battle, highlighted by a relentless commitment to objectives, compelled recognition. German intelligence documents often painted Canadians as deadly accurate, and the mere mention of their tactical acclaim struck a chord of trepidation in enemy hearts. This formidable reputation was nurtured by the unwavering camaraderie and unyielding courage that Canadian soldiers displayed on the front lines, forging an image feared yet respected. The presence of Canadians on the battlefield often shifted the tide of engagements, sculpting the environment of modern warfare into a relentless theater of fear for the Axis powers. Observers noted that this fear did not resonate similarly with respect to American or British forces, whose fighting styles diverged and lacked the same calculated ferocity. The Canadians were not just fighting for victory, they were embodying a psychological weapon that instilled fear within the enemy ranks. Their presence invoked the possibility of tragedy, swift, accurate, and devoid of theatricality. As dusk settled over shadows of barbed wire and bloodied earth, the legend of the Canadian infantry loomed, shaping the brutal narratives of wars fought through the decades and etched into the annals of history, where peace would one day emerge from the echoes of their resolve. They advanced, not merely as soldiers but as a unified entity with a singular purpose, an essence of collective spirit that other Allied divisions struggled to maintain. This exceptional unit cohesion produced an extraordinary fighting spirit, driving them to achieve what many European armies had failed to do. As the war dragged on, the 100 Days Offensive epitomized their evolution. With strategic innovations and rigorous discipline, the Canadians showcased a template of warfare that increased efficacy and minimized error. Each battle refined their capability, cementing their status as elite shock troops. In their relentless push against enemy lines, they transformed the battlefield, showcasing tactical prowess and an indomitable will. Thus, the Canadian legacy, birthed from the trenches of World War I, did not merely reflect military achievement, it signified a burgeoning national identity. The muddy landscapes became the crucible where ordinary men transformed into remarkable forces. They emerged not just as soldiers, but as symbols of resilience, forever altering the perception of Canadian military prowess on the global stage. In the landscape of World War II, the perception of the Canadian infantry by German officers was steeped in respect and caution. The German command meticulously analyzed the capabilities that made these soldiers formidable opponents on the battlefield. Among the pivotal factors was the Canadian infantry's remarkable tactical adaptability. Trained to operate independently, these soldiers displayed a versatility that allowed them to flourish even amidst chaos. Should a Canadian officer fall, the unit would seamlessly continue the mission, executing their objectives with a precision that left German officers scrutinizing their strategies closely. This level of autonomy instilled a deep-seated unease within the enemy ranks, as they recognized that they were up against a self-reliant fighting force capable of responding effectively to dynamic combat situations. The second aspect that struck fear into the hearts of German officers was the aggressive and precise fighting style of Canadian troops. When engaged in firefights, they exhibited a swift, accurate, and lethal approach that inspired admiration and dread. Reports from German soldiers depicted Canadian assaults as reminiscent of their own elite stormtroops, a designation reserved for their best fighters. This recognition highlighted the efficiency and ruthlessness with which Canadians executed their strategies, forcing the Germans to recalibrate their battle plans and reconsider their tactics. Such aggression, combined with a specific focus on precision, made encounters with Canadian infantry a perilous affair. Moreover, the cultural backdrop of Canada fostered a superior marksmanship ethos within its soldiers. With deep roots in hunting and outdoor traditions, Canadians arrived at the front lines equipped with essential skills. From tracking enemy movements to firing rifles with pinpoint accuracy, these soldiers were well versed in the art of combat before the war even began. Their ability to remain composed under pressure further enhanced their effectiveness as warriors. German reports depicted their opponents as not merely soldiers, but as professional killers, instilling a sense of apprehension regarding their prowess. All these factors converged to shape the formidable reputation of Canadian infantry, compelling German officers to reassess their understanding of warfare. The amalgamation of tactical adaptability, aggressive engagement, and a marksmanship culture forged a fighting force that transcended traditional expectations. Faced with the relentless spirit and skill of Canadian soldiers, the German command acknowledged that their strategies needed meticulous adjustments to combat such an indomitable foe. In this theater of war, respect mingled with fear, and Canadian infantry stood as a beacon of tenacity and efficiency. As the echoes of war reverberated across Europe, American troops began to pour onto its shores, each soldier a beacon of hope amid the shadows of conflict. Yet behind the bravery lay a reality. These men, while full of spirit, were met with the ruthless tide of a battlefield already steeped in blood and devastation. They entered the fray when the war had reached its zenith, grappling with an enemy that had been hardened through years of relentless combat in the trenches. The American forces faced a daunting challenge. They were newcomers bound for a long and treacherous journey. Arriving later in the war, many soldiers lacked the crucial experience that had been forged in the fires of battle. Their training, although robust in ambition, fell short of instilling the gritty instincts that seasoned soldiers wielded with ease. The harsh lessons of trench warfare were foreign to them, leaving them at a disadvantage as they stepped onto Europe's battlefields. In a bid to turn the tide, the U.S. military adopted a strategy of mass mobilization that deployed millions of troops across the Atlantic in record time. The numbers were impressive, but the imperative for speed came with a cost. Lengthy and rigorous training was sacrificed at the altar of urgency, leaving many divisions without the fine-tuning that tradition demands. This rapid influx of forces led to a vast army whose members were well-intentioned, yet often ill-prepared for the nuanced warfare that awaited them. As they charged into battle, the American forces relied heavily on artillery to support their advances. Loud booms filled the air as shells rained down, offering a shield for their infantry. However, German commanders were quick to analyze this strategy, noting that while American firepower was substantial, it bordered on predictable. Instead of the intricate small unit tactics that typified experienced armies, Americans often charged forward with overwhelming might, pushing forward with a blunt force that was powerful but lacked the element of surprise. To the German military, American infantry emerged as a formidable sight, strong, boisterous, and relentless, but not one that struck fear into their hearts. What they saw was an army brimming with enthusiasm, yet lacking the chilling precision that could sow chaos within enemy ranks. In the heart of war-torn Europe, each arrival of American troops was both a herald of change and a reminder of the learning curve that lay ahead. On the relentless battlegrounds of the Western Front, British troops displayed unwavering bravery in their fight for survival and victory. Year after year, they faced the German forces, yet the resilience they showcased often felt overshadowed by the stark realities of war. The German soldiers, seasoned in the art of warfare, did not recoil in fear. Instead, they adapted and countered with strategic efficiency, exploiting the vulnerabilities of their opponents. British assaults followed predictable patterns, driven by rigid battle plans that often became their downfall. These strategies, while initially effective, eventually lost their edge. As German forces meticulously studied the British approach, they learned to anticipate movements, rendering the tactics almost obsolete. From drone-like predictability emerged a fortified enemy that thrived on the element of surprise. The battlefield, which once held optimistic promise, morphed into a chessboard where every move was calculated, undermining the British resolve. As the conflict dragged on, the once promising vigor of the British Army began to wane. By the midpoint of the Great War, fatigue seeped into the ranks, with many divisions struggling with manpower shortages and loss of morale. Exhaustion became a silent adversary, threatening not only the numbers but also the spirit of the soldiers. Under-strength units were forced to continue the fight, driven by a sense of duty, yet plagued by the profound weariness of prolonged conflict. This palpable fatigue was palpable, casting a shadow over their battlefield prowess. The British Army was a tapestry woven with threads of both excellence and inexperience. While certain divisions distinguished themselves as elite fighters, others emerged with little training and preparation. This discrepancy in quality diminished the psychological impact on the German opponents, who recognized the varying levels of competence within the British forces. Confidence, once a stronghold for the British, began to fracture under the weight of inconsistency. Meanwhile, The arrival of Canadian troops heralded a turning point. As they entered the fray fresh and determined, their strategies sharper, and their ranks unified. The Germans now faced an adversary untainted by the toll of war, breathing new life into the fight for victory. The contrasting narratives of the seasoned British forces and the invigorated Canadians painted a complex picture of resilience and adaptability amidst the chaos of the Western Front. The once unyielding demeanor of the German soldiers was overshadowed by the grim awareness of what lay ahead. Night after night, they withdrew from the front lines, haunted by the specter of combat that loomed with every passing hour. Defensive postures became second nature, as the fear of a sudden Canadian charge gripped their hearts, leaving them weary from constant vigilance. Psychological exhaustion settled in like a suffocating fog, clouding the thoughts of even the most seasoned veterans. The relentless anticipation drained them, tirelessly eroding their fortitude and leaving them mere shadows of their former selves. They longed for the dawn, not as a herald of battle, but as a respite from the shadows of the night. The haunting sight of the maple leaf insignia now mirrored their inner turmoil, a grim reminder of the brutal engagements that lay ahead and the inevitability of conflict that had become their reality. In the grip of this looming dread, the trenches transformed from mere defensive networks to somber shelters of despair. The prior bravado was muted under the heavy cloak of fear and fatigue. As they readied themselves for the inevitable clash, the psychological battle was already underway, one that would leave indelible marks on their spirits long after the echoes of gunfire had faded. In the stillness of the night, the trenches bore witness to the soldiers' struggles, a testament to the profound challenges of warfare that rip through the fabric of human resilience.